Wherever you were joining me, rate the show, comment, agree, disagree, but whatever you do, keep it spicy. 5-star ratings are appreciated. And if you're joining me on the YouTube channel, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. It's very interesting to me that so many people have a problem understanding the college football playoff and what transpired in the selection of the teams. And so at first I was like, well, maybe people just don't understand. But then I started to think that, no, you understand, you just don't like it. And not liking something is okay, right? Not liking something is fine. But just to put it to bed so I can then start, rooting for Florida State to beat Georgia in their bowl game, I wanted to try and explain why they were left out of the college football playoff in a simplistic way, in a simplistic manner. I'm going to take you back to the playground, back to the basketball courts. When you're at the basketball courts and you've got the next run, right? You've got the next run. It's a lot of people out here, but you know that if you don't choose right, you probably will only get this one run. And so you've been sitting here watching everybody play. You've been watching everybody's games, and you're asking yourself, what is the best combination of these guys out here that's going to get me to a win? What is the best combination of these guys out here that's going to get me to a win? And that's it. Florida State, in the minds of the college football playoff, was that person that you pick if you have no other choice but to pick them. They weren't one of the people that they looked at and said, that person is going to get me a win. That person is going to keep me on the court, i.e., give the best matchup, i.e., give the best ratings. I know it's sad to say, and I'm not saying that it's fair, like I said yesterday. It just is what it is. Imagine, if you will, this, right? Because people are hung up on this deserving thing too much. And let's be clear, whatever side you fall on this, I'm with it. Like, if Florida State would have gotten in, I would not have been like, oh my gosh, Alabama, Georgia were left out. I would have came on and said, hey, congratulations to the Seminoles. If I was picking the 4, I would have left them and I would have left Washington at home. It doesn't change. I'm not emotionally attached to what I believe should happen. I'll give you another analogy. I'm a coach, and a lot of you out there that watch your coaches, or you're intimately involved in sports, meaning that you played them or you've been around them inside, right? You've seen what goes on. So as a coach, we have to make decisions about who plays and who do not play. And I can have a player on my team who shows up every day on time, prepared to work, works their butt off. Yes, sir, no, sir. Competes as hard as they possibly can, and yet not get any playing time in the game. Like legitimate playing time. Like, I'm relying upon this kid to win games. There can be a million reasons for that. The first, he's just not that naturally talented, or she's just not that naturally talented. The other is there are other people who are working just as hard, who are doing just as much as they are, yet they're just better. Ta-da! Florida State didn't do anything wrong, but neither did Alabama. You can't say that, well, they did do something wrong. They lost to Texas. If that's wrong, if losing to Texas is wrong, then what's the advantage of playing Texas? Right? Oh, well, Florida State, had a challenge, so they played LSU. Okay, congratulations. They played LSU. They beat LSU. That's great. Alabama beat LSU. Who on Florida State's schedule looks anything like Georgia? It's not Louisville, but Alabama's got a Louisville on their schedule. Oh, well, Alabama needed a miracle versus Auburn in order to get past Auburn. Yes, you're right. And if they had lost to Auburn, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But they did. Right? We've already seen that the commission or the committee does not take the win margin into consideration. That's not what they do. Style points aren't being considered. But if we are to consider style points, go back and look at a few of those FSU wins. I know. I watched them all. Struggles versus teams that other teams probably would not have struggled against. Struggles versus teams that are not even playing a bowl game. It's okay. The world will keep spinning. It's unfortunate. If it was next year, we wouldn't have to worry about it. But here's where we are. You know where else we are in college football? In college sports. We're at the point where players are empowered, that they are flexing their muscles in free agency. I forget who it was, but I'm going to remember here in a second. I believe it was Sam Herder. Sam Herder posted, and shout out to Sam, at Sam Herder FCS. He posted that per Demizzo WDAY, 3 NDSU players have 6-figure offers from Power 5 programs. There appeared to be an all-hands-on-deck meeting with the Bison NIL Collective last night to address it and push for more members. What a time for D1 college football. So my response was, absolutely, what a time. It is fantastic that FCS players are garnering 6-figure offers. I don't know why the NDSU collective would need to, gather. They're not going to match that. They're not going to match $300,000 for 3 players. How are they matching $300,000 for 3 players? They don't even pack their stadium. It's not a diss against NDSU. That's just who they are, right? They have become, the fans have become complacent in how they get things done. And so now their FCS schools, they're not immune to what the other FCS schools are. Because quite as it's kept, FBS schools have been stealing FCS talent for years. For years. NDSU has been able to avoid it because their brand was so strong that people wanted to play for national championships. But if you're not winning national championships at NDSU, then what is the allure to stay there when you've got $100,000 plus on the board for you? So it's congratulations to those players, right? I heard someone saying something like, well, why would somebody pay six figures for an FCS player? It's football, right? So do I want to spend a scholarship and possibly some NIL money on a high school student that I have to wait to develop? Or do I want to spend that money on a 20, 21, 22 possibly year-old grown man who understands how to play at a high level physical brand of football? That seems like it's an easy one, right? That's an easy one. So I hope people are not as naive to understand why these things are going on. Quarterbacks who are at like major powers are just jumping in the portal, right? DJU in the portal. Buddy from Ohio State, he's in the portal. Ohio State, the starting quarterback from Ohio State is in the portal. One of those Texas quarterbacks are going to be in the portal, right? Why? Because it's big business. If I was an offensive lineman, if I was an edge rusher, I'd be calling up Coach Prime. Yo, Coach Prime, listen, I love what y'all are doing over there. Love the brand recognition, all that. Like, how much can you afford to bring me over? Like, not just some rando person, but a legitimate, like, bona fide talent as an offensive lineman. I would be a mercenary. Why? Because I'm forced to be in college. I'm forced to be in college and not get paid. So if I'm forced to be in college where my employer doesn't pay me, the least I could do is find a place where they're going to give me money, right? That only makes sense to me. If I was an offensive lineman and I was an all-conference offensive lineman at some school that's not playing for a championship, where I'm not getting real legit money, I'm calling up Coach Prime. I'm calling up Colorado, because not only could I possibly get a little money in my pocket, but I'm going to get maximum exposure. Because if you get it right at Colorado, if you get it right with Coach Prime, then the world is going to see it. That's better exposure. That's possibly more money. Like, this isn't brain surgery. Of course, these players are jumping ship. They all want to get paid. They all want to better their stars. That's not an issue. Here is the issue. The players need to know who they are. I've seen names of people going into the portal. And my first question when I see them in the portal is, where are they going? See, for me, I have a rule about jobs. I try to never leave one job until I have another job lined up. I want a seamless transition from one job to the next. I don't want to be sitting at home trying to figure it out. I don't want to be sitting at home wondering what I'm going to do next. For me, if I'm planning to leave a job, I have already put in the fillers to figure out if I have another job. Some of these young men are not doing that before they jump into the portal. Because the reality is, is when you get into the portal, you're going to find out that now it's worse off than it was when you were coming out of high school. Right? It's worse off because now they have legitimate film they can get on you. They see you versus college talent. They don't have to project. They don't have to say, oh, well, he could be, he might be. They see it. And if you don't have film, then that says a lot as well. If you don't have film, it says as much about you than if you do. So I look at these things and I'm like, there must be something to it. If all of these players are jumping into the portal, then what is the reasoning? What is the logic? How did it come about? How did it come about that they were able to, or they were able to come to that decision that I needed to leave? It usually comes down to three things. I think I'm better than where I'm playing. I think I deserve to be paid. Or I'm not getting the opportunity here that I want. All three are selfish. I'm not mad at the selfishness, but all three can cloud your judgment. All three of them can make you project or see yourself better than what you really are. Like, all of those things can be true. Like, you can be worth something, but are you worth enough that another team is going to pay for it? You might be better than the level that you're at, but are you good enough to be at that other level? You may not be getting the opportunity that you want, but does that guarantee that wherever you go, you're going to get the opportunity? The portal is a mess. And if you don't navigate it correctly, if you don't know how to maneuver within there, you're going to get left out. There are going to be people who you hear enter the transfer portal that you never hear from again. They're going to leave a perfectly good situation where I'm assuming they were on scholarship, where I'm assuming they had something going for themselves, where I'm assuming they were progressing towards their degree. They're going to get out here in these shark-infested portal waters, and they're going to see that there is no love out there for them. And they're going to realize that they can't go back, whether it's because their pride won't let them go back or because the coaching staff doesn't want them back. They're going to learn those hard lessons. They're going to learn those hard lessons. It's going to be something that really sits with them. Some people will find homes. Some people will not. You got to be careful of what you're looking for. I thought my conversation with Jalen Coker on the wide receiver from Holy Cross, make sure you go and check that out at fcsnationradio.com. You can check it out on my YouTube channel. Make sure you check out that interview. But he said something that I thought was really telling. I thought it was really mature when I asked him about why he didn't try to transfer to another school. It was really simple, and it makes all the sense in the world. He says, I don't know the coach. I don't know the offense. I don't know the quarterback. I don't know the coach. I don't know the offense. I don't know the quarterback. There's just so much risk. There's just so much to risk, right? And I don't think a lot of people consider the risk when they decide that they're going to move on from the team that they're at. I don't think a lot of people consider the risk when it comes to how they plan to like navigate these waters, right? Because if they did, there's a chance that they might not make the decision that they made, right? I'll give you an example, and it's not to call the young man out because he's chasing a dream, right? But Eric Phoenix, former quarterback at Benedict, right? Benedict College, a Division II school. Former quarterback at Benedict College. He was murdering it. I mean, phenomenal career. Had Benedict at the height of their heights. Last season, after the season, he decided, hey, I want to try to chase my dream. I want to get to a place that I believe might help me get to the next level. That's the only thing I can think, right? So he went out into the transfer portal waters and he was swimming. And for the longest, I didn't hear anything. And then in the 11th hour, I saw he got an offer from Murray State. And I was excited for him. But when you have 1 year to get it right, you got to get to the place, learn the offense, create chemistry with the other players on the team. But more importantly, you've got to beat out the other dudes that are there. And so Eric Phoenix spent his season on Murray State not really playing. He got a little bit of time in this game, but for the most part, didn't play. Now, I don't know his situation. I don't know if he has another year he can take advantage of because of the COVID. I think he may have already did it, but I don't know. If he has another year, then this could have been a 2-year plan. But here's what I do know. Benedict just had another fantastic season. And he could have been at the helm of that. He could have possibly set himself up to go down as an all-time great at Benedict College. Possibly chase and attack a national championship. Because sometimes the grass might be greener where you're going, but the grass is too long and you don't have a lawnmower. You can't cut it. Sometimes the grass is greener over where you're going, but it's not up. You got to fertilize the ground. Sometimes the grass is greener where you're going, but it's winter. So there's no grass right now. It's nothing but dirt and mud. You've got to cultivate it. So when people make decisions to go into the transfer portal, you've got to understand what you're doing. You've got to understand what you're doing. You've got to know that the decision that you're going to make has repercussions that could leave you without playing football. For the people who are like leaving and transferring schools who are bona fide, they're not worried about that, right? DJU is going to play football for somebody next year. It's the only way he's leaving. He's going to play football for somebody. If Arch Manning goes into the portal, he's going to start for somebody next year. But if you're like the Division II quarterback or the FCS quarterback and your name's not Matthew Sluka, there's no guarantees. They're bringing you in to compete. So now you got to actually win the job. And that's regardless of the position that you play. Some of you high school people have to understand that when you set yourself up, right? When you set yourself up to transfer, you need to understand your worth. And you need to understand what people need. See, it's not just good enough to know your worth. You have to understand where the need is. A high-level offensive, if I was a high-level offensive tackle, I'm going into the portal. Why? Because there's money out there for high-level offensive tackles. If I only think I'm a high-level offensive tackle, but I don't have any actual like film or credentials to prove it, then I'm staying my butt right where I am until I have film and credentials to do it, because those waters are shark infested out there. It's just something we have to understand in the playground. All of this stuff comes down to the basics of the playground. When I go to the playground, when I go to the court, I watch you play until it's my turn to pick the team. And when I pick the team, I'm picking the 4 other people who I think, who I believe, based off my eyes, can help me win that next game. That's how it goes when selecting teams for the college football playoffs. That's how it goes with the NIL, right? And that's how it goes when we're talking about quarterbacks in the NFL. It's dirty work. I just saw that Brock Purdy was the MVP odds favorite. It's like they don't even watch the games, but I know they do. So they don't understand what they're looking at. Because the MVP of the league is not somebody who throws a 7-yard pass to Deebo Samuel, watch Deebo Samuel break 3-4 tackles and run 45 yards. The MVP of the league is somebody who is getting pressured by the best defensive line in the game, who's able to avoid the pressure and find open and throw somebody open downfield versus some of the best defensive backs in the game. That's the MVP. Yet every single time Jalen Hurts loses a game, all of a sudden he is demoted. Every single time. And I say every single time because he's only lost 2 games. He has the best record in the league, and yet somebody else somebody said, oh, well, Deebo Samuel's not an MVP candidate because he missed games. Yeah, and when he missed games, Brock Purdy didn't look like Brock Purdy. When Brock Purdy's offensive tackle was out, Brock Purdy didn't look like Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy needs everything working right in order to succeed at a high level. That's not the MVP. The MVP does not need everything perfect in order to get the job done. The MVP gets the job done when everything is off. That's why Lamar is so good. That's why Patrick Mahomes is so good. That's why Hurts is so good. That's why Joe Burrow's good. Because they don't need everything to be perfect. Because they don't need every weapon known to man to be out there. But when you do give them weapons, it's a cheat code. Right? It's a cheat code. So I'm looking at this and I'm just like, man, like, what did Jalen Hurts do to these people? Did he like have sex with a girlfriend or something? Like, what's going on? Like, they are forever dissing and or disrespecting Jalen Hurts, and I just don't get it. Like, how do you have one game where you didn't play awful, but your defense couldn't stop water from running? How is that the game that drops you from being an MVP? And why is this only a quarterback discussion? How is Tyreek Hill not the odds-on favorite to win MVP? This dude is down there just powerballing. How is Christian McCaffrey not in the MVP conversation? He's the catalyst for all the success in San Francisco. Why are we not talking about defensive players for league MVP when they have been so instrumental, so demonstrative in the game? If you turn the MVP into a quarterback award, then you essentially devalue it because there's already a quarterback award out there. If you, just like they've turned the Heisman Trophy into a quarterback award. Although this year, it's an easy choice. I don't even know why Bo Nix is going to New York. It's an easy choice. I don't know why Bo Nix is going. I don't know why Marvin Harrison Jr. is going. Don't even really know why Michael Penix is going, but I'm happy he is because 8-1-3 over everything. It's the Jaden Daniels show. Period, end. It's not even close. He's doing what Nix did in Oregon, except he also has running back stats. His season is the most impressive quarterback season I've seen since Lamar Jackson did it back-to-back seasons. His season is the most impressive. It's not the Joe Burrow season. I know y'all. It's not Joe Burrow season because the man had every weapon imaginable and an elite level defense. It's not Joe Burrow's season. That was impressive. But Joe Burrow's season was never more impressive than Lamar Jackson's season. It was never more impressive than Cam Newton's season because they were doing that without pros around them. Neither one of them had a team with players that were going to play in the NFL or that went on to play in the NFL. Neither one of them had players who were projected to play in the NFL. But Jaden Daniels is that one-man wrecking crew. So, like, congratulations to Bo Nix and Michael Penix and Marvin Harrison Jr. for getting that free trip to New York. But this one's over, my friends. It's going to be Jaden Daniels for the Heisman Trophy. If not, we riot. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Talk Spicy. Do this thing a few times a week. Rate the show, comment, agree, disagree, whatever you do. Keep it spicy. 5-star ratings are appreciated. And if you join me on the YouTube channel, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. Till next time, peace.